this is cjhoyle. Today is Friday, July the 30th, 2021, and today I'm coming to you from the Prince Edward Viaduct Bridge, heading in the east direction. And in this video I'm going to be giving a narrated tour of Danforth Avenue, here from the seat of my recumbent bike. And the first thing that we'll get to see up ahead here is the new intersection design that the city has implemented here at Danforth and Royal Drive, which is an entrance onto the Don Valley Parkway. It's now a controlled signal here, so you can see that these cyclists ahead of me are waiting for a green bike signal while the vehicles had the right of way to go onto the on-ramp. But now they've got the red and we've got the green, so I can proceed through this intersection. And right up ahead we've got Broadview. So that portion back there has had bike lanes for quite a few years now, but they've just did that recent improvement to it that I was just talking about there. But beyond Broadview here, we've now got the new Danforth bike lanes, which were installed last summer as part of the Active TO program, the city's pandemic response, or one of their pandemic response programs. And I made a video last year in the fall showing these new bike lanes, but one unique thing about these bike lanes is that they have two different configurations to them. During the summer warmer weather, I guess it's a little bit more than just summer, but during the warmer weather, the restaurants that are along this portion of Danforth have patios, which they reroute the bike lanes around them into areas that are occupied by parking the rest of the year. So when I made that video last fall, things were in the colder weather stage and there were no patios. So I've decided to come back today to show what it looks like here in the summer, and on this Friday evening around 6:30 or so, we should see lots of people out enjoying those patios as we can here. So during the winter or the colder months, the bike lane would go straight, but instead we jog to the left every time that there's a patio. But they've still got concrete curves to maintain this as a separated or protected bike lane. So this first area of Danforth is part of a BIA, a business improvement area known as Broadview Danforth. But soon we'll be reaching the Greektown BIA, where you can see that big arc over the street up ahead. There are actually 3 of those arcs that we'll be going underneath of. And my plan in this video is to ride these bike lanes all the way to where they end, which is a street called Dawes Road. And somebody doesn't quite know how this bike lane's supposed to work. That's not a parking area, in case you didn't know. As part of this project to beautify the street, the city has taken some of the big buffered areas, which are not for parking and not for driving on and not for bike lanes, just this sort of buffer space between them, and they painted these decorative patterns on them on the street. And that's that area back there where that vehicle was illegally parked had one of those patterns. I'm sure we'll see more of them as we continue on. And we've gone under that first arc of Greektown, so we are in Greektown. You'll notice some street signs that have Greek lettering on them along the way. And I can smell lots of delicious food as I'm riding along here. It's kind of windy today, so I apologize if there's any wind noise that comes through on my microphone. kind of gusty. Not a strong wind, but there are gusts every now and again. And here we're approaching Pape Avenue. Running underneath of Danforth Avenue where we're riding right now is the Bloor Danforth subway, the Line 2 TTC line. And Pape is one of the subway stops along there. So is Broadview, near where we started.
Next time you want to be like now. Don't do that. Like, don't be shy.
We'll just wait for our green light here. Among all the other people riding their bikes today. There's another one of those arcs. Welcome to Greektown. They light those up at night as well when you're coming through. And I have to mention, this is not a particularly wide bike lane, so when you've got somebody riding slower than you're comfortable with, you tend to get stuck behind them sometimes. But that's not the end of the world. We're not in a big hurry today. And now we're exiting Greektown because the arc above here says, "Thank you for visiting." And we're going to cross Jones Avenue. And here's Dawnlands, which is another one which has a subway stop. And now that we've left the Greektown BIA, we've entered the Danforth Mosaic BIA. Which nicknames itself as the Danny. You'll see signs along here that say the Danny on telephone poles. The history behind why this street is called Danforth or the Danforth is because it was a road that led to a highway which was commissioned or built by an American person who had Danforth as their surname. And Danforth Avenue was a road to get to Danforth Road, which is further out to the east. We won't be riding that far in this video. Early last year in 2020, back in the winter, I made a video where I rode the entire length of Danforth Avenue, starting from where it merges into Kingston Road. And that was before there were bike lanes. But it's a really nice main street with a lot of independent businesses. A nice place to come walking or shopping. And certainly I've seen myself coming over to this area more frequently since these bike lanes were installed last year. As I mentioned, they were installed as part of the city's active TO pandemic response, but they were added as temporary bike lanes, which were there to, you know, encourage people to be active, doing things outdoors, when so many other activities that people did were not possible due to the pandemic. And the idea was that they would keep them in for about 2 years, and then they would study and evaluate them and decide whether to keep them longer or to turn the street back to how it was before. And I believe that decision will happen sometime this fall or possibly early next year. I'm certainly hoping that this transformation will be made permanent. It seems to be pretty well received by most people in this city. This sort of streetscape design is known as a complete street. It makes the street accessible and safe for many different modes of transportation and uses. There's another one of those painted patterns in the asphalt. Recently I made a video riding my bike on the new Yonge Street bike lanes, which are installed about a year later than these ones, but in many ways the design is quite similar. Here we've got a red light at East Lynn Avenue, and we're still within the Danforth Mosaic area. So today's the Friday of the August long weekend, or the civic holiday we call it in Ontario. I believe all provinces in Canada have a long weekend, but each province has sort of their own name for the day. In Ontario, like I said, it's just called the civic holiday. But aside from being written in documentation and stuff, I think most people don't even use that name. They just call it the August long weekend. Although I believe in the city of Toronto, there was a proclamation to make this holiday just locally here in Toronto known as Simcoe Day, named after John Graves Simcoe, who was I believe the lieutenant governor of what is now Ontario, and he kind of laid out the city of Toronto. Way back when. More patios to go around. Nobody occupying these ones yet. I came riding here a few days ago, a little bit later in the evening, and it seemed to be just as bustling as this. Lots of people out enjoying this nice main street. Looks like there's some construction up ahead and the bike lane probably is closed a bit. You can see a big concrete, looks like a pumper truck. We're just passing a couple of concrete mixers, so perhaps they're waiting to feed this machine. It's pouring concrete somewhere. All right, lane closed, so we have to merge with traffic. That looks like some kind of construction where they're pouring the concrete from a truck as opposed to using the crane. The building's not very tall yet. But we're back in our bike lane again. And we've now left the Danforth Mosaic BIA area and we're now in the Danforth Village. And I guess to explain what these BIAs are, if you're not familiar, is in different parts of the city there are kind of these little mini organizations which, if you own a business within a certain area, you have to become a member of this organization, and I guess you pay members' dues, and the organization would have a board of directors and they would have maybe some staff, and the organization is there solely for the purposes of improving the businesses, making this part of the city better for the businesses. So when the city goes to build, to make a change or some kind of a improvement or something to this stretch of area, the BIAs will be consulted. And it's kind of a, the businesses can meet and get together and figure out, what they jointly want and be represented that way. And from the city's perspective, it means that they don't have to go and knock on every business's door and ask their opinions on things. They can just simply ask the BIA, what do you think? And, it's kind of saves an extra step. So we're just going past the Danforth Canadian Tire here on the right. And this next traffic light up ahead is Dawes Road, which is the eastern terminus of the Danforth bike lanes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed joining me on this narrated tour. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.